Morning, everybody, and thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. Thanks for the opportunity from Innovation Martlesham to come and give you an update on Dell Technologies, what we're doing in the telco space, why Dell, and a few other things. Myself and Gavin will walk you through sort of what we're doing, why we're playing in the telco space, and happy to take any of your questions at the end of the session, as Jim has mentioned. I head up the telecom practice for Dell Technologies for the Europe, Middle East, and Africa business. And Gavin is my network account director for the UK business, and he's actually based up in Martlesham at Industrial Park. I'm glad to be there. I'm an XPT employee myself. I was there through most of the noughties between 2001 and beginning of 2010. So personal experience of being there and enjoyed that time. And I think one of the surprising things is when we have these kind of conversations is people going, we're talking to Dell, and we're talking about telecoms, and yet why are we talking to Dell about telecoms? So let me explain briefly, maybe do a bit of positioning. So who are we? Well, we're a $100 billion company. I'm pretty sure most of you have heard about us and who we are and what we do. We were 39 years old last month, since Michael Dell personally started the business in his university dorm, and the rest is history, as they say. We've over 130,000 employees, 30,000 of them in sales, 35,000 of them in the customer service area, and we have over 240,000 go-to-market partners in a channel and partnering model that we have for go-to-market around the world in over 180 countries. Large organization. We produce a laptop every 49 seconds. In other words, we're a big IT company. We're known as being a very big IT company. In terms of what we do and how well we do it, we are number one in most of the categories of technology categories in which we play. I'm very proud to be so. But we also operate in a number of other areas. In particular, we operate, for example, in the OEM space with companies such as the telecom network equipment providers like Ericsson, Samsung, Nokia, Fujitsu, etc., in building solutions with and for them. We also operate in many other industries. For example, we put the computing power into MRI scanners with companies like Siemens and Bosch and so on in the healthcare industry. So it isn't just in the laptop and server business. We actually play with the computing power in a lot of different industries globally. In addition to our success in technology, we are also highly recognized in a number of other areas from a corporate point of view. We're not just industry-leading technology, but also in sustainability, diversity, customer service, ethical operations, and a number of others. So what does all this got to do with telecoms, and why are we sort of talking and operating in the telecom space from a Dell Technologies point of view? The opportunity is immense in the telecom space going forward. The area that's now become known as Edge is becoming one of the prime opportunities for telco operators as new technology such as 5G rolls out. The ability to actually start producing machine-to-machine capability, more dedicated and secure network infrastructure, and move beyond the traditional sort of proprietary core and RAN type network model needs to be enabled by a new edge infrastructure. It's a huge opportunity for telcos, estimated to be 700 billion in the next 7 years globally. But if you look at all the different industries that then require that edge technology, you can see why the scale grows so much. We've been talking about autonomous cars since 5G was first thought of on a whiteboard. And some of that has now come into being with automatic truck fleets and various other things. We're seeing it in public transportation with private 5G networks in ports, airports, etc., smart cities. We're seeing it in manufacturing. We've got a major contract with a very large mining company in Canada, where we've got private 5G networks running that mine remotely. All of these things are now being enabled by new technology, but they all require a new ecosystem, a new infrastructure, and a new way of working in order to deliver them at scale and efficiency and agility going forward. So in order to do this, however, it's not easy. Anyone who's been in the telecom space for a while knows that it is a difficult market in which to move quickly. The cost of implementing, maintaining, and delivering new technologies and technology generation changes is very high. The responsibility on telecom operators to maintain that existing infrastructure and the services it delivers are very high. But the stakes are also becoming much higher. BT, for example, through its EE network, actually runs the emergency services network for part of the blue light system in the UK. We're talking mission critical. Apart from keeping business IT applications running, we're now talking about keeping critical national infrastructure up and running. But to do so requires an ecosystem that is going to be able to move faster, with more agile, with more development opportunity, with more speed of turnaround, which will introduce more players, more at the software level, more at the hardware level, more at the services level. And that in itself is going to introduce a very large challenge for the operator environment in which to play and to build. And in the moving to this new model, there are a number of challenges and a number of barriers to doing this. The first challenge is around the enablement of that system. The need to drive industry compliance and industry standards, the need to accelerate telecom solution platforms, new platforms for this deployment and creation, and then the need to drive rapid innovation and providing maximum choice and agility and new players in that particular space over time, but as fast as possible. The second challenge is about developing new solutions. How do we identify them, and then how do we test them and validate them securely as quickly as possible to bring them to market in the most efficient way for enterprises to consume them from the telco operators. And then the third set of challenges, of course, revolves around managing the complexity in life of those new solutions that are constantly changing. We'll be moving at faster pace in terms of upgrades and change of delivery and models that have maybe traditionally operated in that telecom infrastructure space. So new delivery and support models from multi-vendor solutions will be required. And that's a major change to deliver at a cost and efficient level in the telco space. At Dell, our approach to this is the slide you see in front of you, the three triangle approach. We start with collaboration. We work with telco operators. We work with technology partners. We work with the network equipment providers. We're also a key player in the industry standards bodies in driving this new open collaborative system to create that new environment, create that new technology, create those new systems on which telco operators can offer new revenue streams to enterprise business. And then to actually bring those products and solutions to market, we work on joint go-to-market programs now with telco operators and with channel partners to leverage Dell's very large enterprise go-to-market scale organization to help bring those telco operator solutions to market going forward. This new ecosystem, we call it the Open Ecosystem Community, requires new relationships. It requires new technology development. It requires new ability to develop and test both forward-looking and backward-looking retro testing those environments, the ability to fail fast, the ability to test and move on quickly with a number of different operators playing in that same stack that telco operators will be rolling out going forward to deliver all these new systems. We believe at Dell Technologies that our capability in large-scale supply chain, our logistics, our x86 compute expertise, our OEM expertise, and our history of delivering lower cost, high scale solutions, in addition to some new platforms we're going to create, which I'll talk about a little bit later on in this session, will enable us to help operators to speed up their time to market in this new monetization of the technology. And in doing so, then help generate this new ecosystem for those new applications in the edge that I talked about a couple of minutes ago. We'll come back to the open system a little bit at the end and talk about what we're doing. But in the meantime, let me hand over to Gavin, who will take you to a little bit more specifically about what we're doing in creating and building that ecosystem space. Gavin?
Thanks, Cormac. So thanks for having me today, everyone. So Dell has the challenge of helping our telco partners, but also our ecosystem partners in moving away from what was the big monolithic black box solution way of sort of operating networks and developing and deploying them to giving telcos a modern, open and disaggregated architecture approach. And that means giving flexibility and choice from hardware, middleware, to the CAS layer, and also to the workloads. And obviously that's a fundamental challenge even for Dell. And the way we've approached that is we've tackled all layers in different ways. So starting at the fundamental hardware layer, we've introduced new generations of servers, and I think we're on our third generation now with the XR series, but the XR series are purposely built for telco So essentially, we've developed devices that are hardened for temperature, hardened for humidity, vibration, all sorts of things that we would expect in a telco environment. And that's in addition to having telco standards applied to them, such as ETSI with telco racks, for example, so that these can be deployed in all sorts of scenarios at cell sites to grid cabinets out on the street. And we've got different selections for different criteria on the different site locations. So that's how we've tackled the hardware side of things. And if we move on to the issues around us being able to provide performance capability that's in line with what you would get with black box solutions or appliances that have been specifically designed for things, we've also started to develop and introduce new hardware that works alongside our server technology. Biggest disruptor in the disaggregated networks today is OpenRun. So we've developed a card in partnership with Marvell around providing layer one offloading capabilities for OpenRun. So to achieve the same performance levels that you would otherwise get for maybe an optimized ASIC-based platform, we're able to deliver similar capabilities now in that sense with introducing other things other than x86. That's just one example. The other thing is, obviously, with these workloads, we're in a multi-cloud world now. So we've got software providers and vendors creating cloud-native workloads that can work in an array of different clouds, that being on-prem, off-prem, private clouds, public cloud, etc. But we still have the complexity, or the customer will have the complexity ensuring that the workloads align with the CAS layer and everything sort of works together to get the optimal performance. So what Dell have created is an engineered system called Dell Telecom Infrastructure Blocks, or Infra Blocks for short, which is a fully validated solution that brings together everything in that white box that you can see on the slide, particularly around the CAS layer downwards, so that everything is validated across three particular pillars. I'll move on to this slide. It's around the validation of the full hardware and software stack, so that we've taken the headache away to a degree, ensuring that you're getting an optimized solution based on the items from CAS layer downwards. We've ensured that we've got the capability of integrating that stack at the factory. So at point of sale, when you're purchasing our equipment, when it arrives, you've already got the stack deployed on the box, so you don't have to worry about that. So it reduces the risk and reduces the time to deployment. But on top of that, and I would say the most crucial part is the automation side of things. So we're not caring about just the day zero and day one. We're looking at day two with discovery, deployment, and lifecycle management of the stack as well for environments like Telco Cloud. So and obviously with that, we can't provide that type of solution without having backed up services portfolio or a wrap around that is integral to what you would traditionally get from traditional network vendors. So we've got telco grade services around critical issues with restoration of 4 hours with SLAs. We've got the one throat to choke mentality when it comes to accountability and solution support. And we've got tools that enable the proactive, predictive and detection of failures. So we're more of a proactive operation instead of it being reactive. And that goes without saying. As Dell Technologies as a whole, we've got a 60,000 person service organisation that can help with all the needs, from consulting services to allow telcos and other businesses for that matter to meet their strategic outcomes. to providing managed services. Deployment services is a really big one. So we've got the capability of actually doing full rack builds with our equipment as well as third parties, racking them up, cabling them up, installing it, and actually do fully burn-in tests so that before a fully racked or built rack solution goes to site, we've already checked for dead on arrivals and other things that usually trip up as part of the traditional deployment that you'd seen, particularly in telco networks. That's me. I'm going to hand back to Cormac to talk a bit more about Hotel.
Yeah, so just to transition from this, so as Gavin has outlined, the size and scale of the service capability we have is clearly a major part of our large IT heritage and what we do. But what we are doing is expanding this capability from the IT heritage we have, the data center capability and IT enterprise build, now into telco grade capability as we roll out this new ecosystem. And at the heart of this new system is a thing we call OTEL, the Open Telecom Ecosystem Lab. One of the biggest challenges that the industry is going to face is how do we continually progress, test, create, test, retest, bring to market, and continually allow continuous innovation among what is going to be a much busier ecosystem of software vendors, hardware vendors, network operators, cloud hyperscaler players, et cetera, et cetera. In order to make sure that all of those systems interact, operate, test retroactively and proactively, there's going to need to be a new way of implementing and sandboxing and testing this world, but at a faster, more agile pace. There's going to have to be an ability to allow for multiple operators, multiple new software vendors, different software stacks working with different versions of hardware on an ongoing real-time basis. That is not traditionally the way in which a lot of the telco operator infrastructure involves. Unlike an enterprise IT space, in the operations space, as we all know, there's the requirement for greater and deeper due diligence on the technology and the longevity, commitment to longer term on the products and the support and the service over the lifetime of that network, the ability to sweat those assets over time as services are rolled out and maintained. And then in theory, you test a lot, you deploy once, and you touch as little as you can during the life of that particular technology phase. That is going to change. In an edge environment driven by enterprise applications, it is going to change much more rapidly than the rate of change usually experienced in the telecom operator infrastructure. So it is going to require an environment that allows for this ecosystem to play, test, and make things real. And that is what we are creating at Dell in the Open Telecom Ecosystem Lab. We have a 13,000 square foot facility we have built, a headquarters in Round Rock, Texas, but already has partners and customer networks live and running and testing in it. We have a remote satellite version of it we just launched in May in Cork in the south of Ireland. And we are currently working on another couple of sites that will open over the next, hopefully 12 to 15 months around the world to enable this ecosystem to work closer to the customers and closer to the enterprise environments where these applications are going to play. Certifying and developing open standards-based solutions, but deploying them at carrier-grade testing environments is going to be one of the key differences it brings. De-risking that telecom transformation process by creating this ecosystem sort of where partners can have their solutions verified, have them tested, have them modified, have them retested quickly without too long a cycle time in between to make it more real time. And then enabling more choices for both telco operators and enterprises in terms of providers with faster innovation, faster value creation, faster tests and approval, certification or failure, and expanding those target markets in those new edge industries we talked about at the beginning of the show. This lab is already proving hugely popular, but hugely important in actually enabling this open system to happen. I think an important point to note is that where the systems are at the moment, what's happening in the telco operating modes at the moment is much more the traditional core RAN, some edge play in the model we're all familiar with. The era of Open RAN is not yet here. It's still in that testing phase, the development phase. Dish is a network operator in the US, which is now running entirely on an OpenRun system on Dell technology and Dell infrastructure. But it is that very rare of things. It is a greenfield telco operation starting up from scratch, but is now running operation. It's been in place for 3 years, is now running operation for the last one. We have Vodafone in Europe, who have been doing some live O-RAN trials and testing, and in fact, who've gone live with 5G services available in the south of England, run on an OpenRAN infrastructure around a small number of sites. And we have a number of operators in Europe, and particularly in the Middle East, doing a number of trials and proof of concepts on OpenRAN, looking at its viability as a lower cost, lower power consumption, higher deployment speed type network operating environment. We believe we're at the forefront of enabling this system, being ahead of that next generation of technology and the system that requires to roll that out and make it happen. So these are exciting times for us. OpenRAN is not yet the revenue generator for telcos or enterprise or ourselves as providers yet, but we have to be in it at the beginning to help grow this ecosystem in order to make it viable and prove that it is worthy for the operation environment. And so I guess in summary, I guess the highlights would be that we're an industry leader in what we have done in the IT space. We play at scale in terms of our locations, not just in terms of where we sell and with the partners we have, but the manufacturing locations, our pre-factory integration capability, our supply chain, which proved immensely important to all of our telco customers and enterprise customers during the last couple of years of supply chain challenges. And now we are bringing that scale and that speed into the telecom operator market as we see that edge opportunity grow and evolve and start to become very large scale over the next 5 to 6 to 7 years. All of us who've worked in the operator space know it takes time, know it takes a lot of proving of this technology and the ecosystem to build it. It's why we're in it early and we believe ahead of the curve. We are working with BT as well as a number of other operators across the world on about this OpenRAN technology and this environment, and working in the disaggregated core networks that are rolling out now. So we are already involved in network infrastructure today. It isn't all just about tomorrow. We're very proud to be doing so, and we're glad to be doing this with the speed and agility that Dell brings with its large-scale background into the operator space. And we're very much looking forward to working closer with all the operators in this space going forward and proving this ecosystem is the way forward.